My ex-boyfriend was a serial cheater. Me 18 to 21, female, was dating my partner 19 to 22, male, when I was a freshman in college through junior 3 years. He had given me an expensive promise ring and had plans to propose to me by the end of college. He was in the military and got deployed when I was 20 to 21. I was extremely faithful, would send him elaborate care packages every month, and drove 8 hours to visit him at his station prior to him getting deployed every other weekend. I missed out on parties with my friends because he would get jealous, and I naively thought I was being a good GF by not going when he said not to. Anyway, he had this ex. Well, call her Sally, who he had dated in high school and kept in touch with as friends. I trusted him and at the time believed they were platonic. So here's where it gets weird. He comes home and obviously we sleep together. Later I go to the doctor one day because things feel strange down there, and turns out I had chlamydia. I lost my virginity to my BF, so I had no idea how that could have happened, but I got cured, and while it raised a red flag, I didn't understand it. A weekend later, I go to visit him, and I was sitting on his bed and looked over at his phone that was going off while he was showering. I never went through his phone and trusted him. But my spidey senses were tingling. I look over and see FB messages from 4 girls, not including Sally. One had said, "I miss you," so I went into the shower and told him to unlock his phone. He let me look through it, and sure enough, there were numerous texts and Facebook messages with many girls, with flirty exchanges about missing each other and asking to meet up. When he got back from being deployed, mind you, I had messaged him on FB many times. While he was deployed, he didn't have cell service, but said he could sometimes access FB Messenger, and he never replied to me. Yet he had clearly been talking with multiple girls while deployed. He claimed he didn't cheat and begged for forgiveness. I naively accepted eventually and had my guard up. Then one night, he came home to our home state where our families are, and I was there on college break. His family, high-key abusive, but that's another story. Had a huge fight involving a gun in front of me, so we took his brothers and went to a hotel for safety. When his brothers went to the pool, I started to go down on him. Suddenly I look up and he's texting while I'm going down on him, so I grab his phone, run into the bathroom and try to lock it, but he pried the door open, which I shut on his hand. He clearly didn't want me to see it, and sure enough, before he got the door open, I see he's texting Sally, Megan, another girl from high school, and some girl named Tiffany. I ran out of the hotel in tears and go to my car and message Sally and Megan on Facebook. Megan replies and tells me he was asking her to come over while I was there, because I wasn't allowed to spend the night, according to my parents, and he said we broke up. Long story short, I meet with him the next day and tell him to come clean. Drunkenly he does, and I come to find out that he has been cheating on me with not only Megan, but Sally, Tiffany, and various prostitutes. The entire time we were dating, I dumped him immediately, and for weeks after he kept calling, begging for forgiveness. Then one day he calls me. I picked up and he brags to me about how he was sleeping with Sally and Megan the whole time we were dating and said he never loved me. 6 years later, he's now married to some younger girl, and I'm still struggling with trust issues and relationships. Story number 2. Cheated on my husband with my coworker and feel for him. I 35 female cheated on my husband 37 male Alex. When I met my coworker Dan, it started with us being friends. We worked overnight at a warehouse and held the same manager position. So we spent a lot of time together talking while working. Then we started spending time after work, still just talking. I'm a very blunt person, so one day I came in sexually frustrated from not having sex in weeks and was just working. I guess Dan knew me better than I thought he did and asked me what was wrong, and I said I'm sexually horny as hell, haven't had sex in weeks and I should just fuck him. I was half joking. But he said he was waiting for me to say that and would happily oblige. For the next couple weeks, we still didn't have sex with each other, and I still wasn't getting any at home. There were days that Alex tried But IMO, you should not still have morning breath at 5 p.m. That's disgusting and an immediate turn off to me. Hygiene is very important, and although he's never been a 10 on cleanliness at least. When we first got together he smelled decent. Now he can go weeks without brushing his teeth and days between showers. I've told him this is a huge turn off for me, but he'd rather sit on the game than wash his ass. Anyway, one day after work, me and Dan were sitting in our cars talking like we normally did after work. I had on leggings, and he put his hand down my pants and started fingering me, and that shit felt amazing. The next day, I gave him head after work, and it progressed from there. For months, we were having sex 4 to 5 times a week, meeting up before work and leaving work early to meet at hotels. We had a system too, so no one at work would suspect anything. If we ended up being late, we would come in 1/2 hour to an hour separate, and whoever came in later, we would ask them what happened and why they were late. We staggered when we left work too, and on days when the warehouse was slow and everyone would be sent home early, we just left and met up at our meeting spot. No one thought anything because we lived close to each other, so it made sense for us to be driving the same way. I admit, I loved every second of it because it was the best sex I've ever had. I never squirted with anyone until Dan, and with Alex most of my organs were faked, and I never had to fake anything with Dan. Every moan, every leg jerk, everything was real, and it wasn't all about sex. When I was on my cycle, we still met up to talk or watch videos. It's weird because Dan learned my cycle in a couple months, whereas Alex still doesn't know it after more than 15 years together. I did end things with Dan. We both agreed on the beginning that we were going to leave feelings out of it, and I caught feelings too. We're both married, and I didn't mind ruining my family. I didn't have much to lose. I paid all the bills, took care of the kids and house, and paid for most of our date nights, despite Alex making 3x's as much as I did. But Dan had more to lose, and he started talking about a future with me. At that point, I knew his feelings were serious, so I put in my notice at work. The only people that knew I was leaving were the ones who needed to know. In my last date, Dan said he would sit and talk with me, but he had to get home because he was tired and had stuff to do that day. I told him I'd see him later and never went back. If I'm being honest, I miss him so much. Different movies and songs remind me of him. There's certain things I want to talk to him about that I can't talk with Alex about. Alex only talks about games, DBZ, and the lottery. Don't get me wrong, I'm a gamer and love anime, but there's more to life than Call of Duty and Dragon Ball. Hell, tell me about the new Assassin's Creed coming out, or let's talk about Gintama, or One Piece for a change. Can we talk about how the government is against everyone, not just one race? Can we have one meaningful conversation? So I truly miss Dan, and after 6 months of no contact, I realized I actually might love him. I just wanted to get all this off my chest because it's hard mourning a loss by yourself, and even though Alex cheated on me multiple times over the years, if he found this out, he'd probably unalive himself. And I know one of the questions will be, if I don't love Alex, why am I still with him? The answer is out of pity. He struggles to just pay his car note. I know he'll never survive on his own. He doesn't pay bills, doesn't clean, and doesn't cook, but I'm getting to the point where I don't care, and he'll either sink or swim on his own, and if anyone asks what he spends his money on, the answer is whatever he wants, not what we as a family need. Pool sticks, new games, his car, shoes, going out to the bar, and whatever else. Not clothes or shoes for the kids, not bills, not takeout for everyone, just himself and his hobbies.